Welcome, everyone, to Fantasy Foresight, the podcast. We're your hosts and co-founders of FantasyForesight.com. I'm Ben.
And I'm Jay.
You ready to get rolling, Jay?
You know it. Let's do this.
All right, let's go. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the quarterbacks in the AFC West as of Saturday, August 11th.
First up, we have Case Keenum of the Denver Broncos. Not the sexiest name out there for sure, but a certain upgrade over who the Broncos had last year. He is our QB 18. In 2017, he was our QB 17, so they project him to be about the same as last year, but boy, he's got a great receiving core around him. I expect some good things.
Absolutely. Like you said, Total Foresight's QB 18. He's pretty much free in drafts. I really like Case Keenum. The Broncos are thrilled to go into camp and into the season with a clear-cut starter for the first time since Peyton Manning was there. Garrett Bowles went as far as saying that it's a blessing to block for Case and to have his leadership presence in the locker room. Like you said, he's got some great weapons. He's got Demaryius Thomas. He's got Emmanuel Sanders. He's got Cortland Sutton. He's got that running game, and we haven't seen much from Booker yet, but a lot of people think really highly of Royce Freeman. So I think Case is poised to have a sneaky efficient season, especially when you look at last year. He was QB 12 in 2017 in passer rating. He was QB 15 in fantasy points per game. And last year he was QB 17 in attempts at 481. The reason that I bring up the attempts is that if you take Denver's quarterbacks of last year and you combine all their attempts together, it comes out to 566. That's almost 100 more attempts than Case had last year, because if you remember, he wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year. They had an injury and he came in and he was getting a feel for the offense and all that. None of that's the case in Denver. He is the clear-cut starter. They are preparing for Case and building this offense around him, and I think he's going to have a sneaky nice year.
And on top of that, he has a top third schedule for quarterbacks, 9th in the league.
Yep.
His O-line is middle of the road, but it's serviceable.
Sure. Yep.
And full disclosure, Total Foresight is participating in the King of the Draft competition this year, and if you don't know what that is, go find us on Twitter. It's a competition between semi-pro and professional fantasy football community members, and we took Case Keenum for our Total Foresight team late in the draft as a steal, and he's going to start for us, and we expect him to score way above his projection.
Oh, absolutely. Like we said, he's free, and when you look at his ADP, there's a few people going higher than him that are worth talking about: Mitch Trubisky, Dak Prescott, and Eli Manning. I would rather have Case than all three of them, and it's not even close for me.
No, like you mentioned before, Dak can provide you some value if rushing touchdowns provide you with a premium in scoring, but I'm with you. I think Case Keenum is a sneaky play this year. I think he's going unheralded, and I think he's going to better his projection.
Absolutely. On the flip side, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, you've got a quarterback in Pat Mahomes who a lot of people are hyping to take that next step, to do big things, to utilize that massive arm that everybody's so tantalized with. He's Mike Clay's QB 12. He's Total Foresight's QB 42.
And a lot of that has to do with his sample size. There was a minimal sample size. Sure, he excelled and he looked fine and he looked the part, but now he's going to have to come into a year as the man by himself. Teams have film and they can start to game plan against him, and we'll see what he's made of.
No, you're absolutely right. It is a very small sample size. I don't feel like I want to invest in that stock. I really want to just kind of wait and see what happens there. I know he's got a great arm. I know Andy Reid wouldn't have traded Alex Smith unless he had faith in this guy. They wouldn't have traded up in the first round to get him. He's going in drafts anywhere between 125 and 130, which isn't terribly expensive or overpriced. His ADP has fallen, though. I will tell you, it was much higher to start off this offseason, and it has gradually gone down as more and more people have started to do their drafts.
And I have to admit, I really like his targets. Kelsey, he's top 2 tight end in the league. I love Freak. Tyreek Hill, he's a burner. He can get open and hit home runs. He's got weapons. The problem is, when it comes back to the fantasy football perspective, like Ben said, his ADP is 125 to 130. The players going right in front of him are Jared Goff, Big Ben, and Phillip Rivers, and I'm taking all three of those guys over him.
Yeah, it's not even close either.
And right behind him are Marcus Mariota, Carr,
and Alex Smith.
And we talked about him last time.
I would absolutely take Alex Smith over him all day. day. I would probably take Mariota and Carr over him as well.
So to me, he's a backup quarterback on your roster if you're in a deep league, and you kind of hope that he can provide for you in a bye week, or maybe he surprises and he steps up and becomes a star, but he's got the worst strength of schedule for quarterbacks in the league. He's got the 19th ranked offensive line. They're projected to win under 8 games this year and have a regression, and all of that concerns me.
Absolutely. He does have that exciting arm talent, but he still has to prove to us that he can adjust to the pro-style offense in the NFL, and we just need to see more. We haven't seen enough of him. I understand that a lot of people in the know are very excited about him, but I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach on him.
With the guys going around him, I'm going to let somebody else take that risk, and maybe it pans out for them, maybe it doesn't.
Right, and somebody going closely to him in drafts is Phillip Rivers. And I feel night and day about Phillip Rivers as I do about Pat Mahomes. He's total Foresight's QB 13. He's Mike Clay's QB 13. He is rock solid year in and year out. I don't remember the last time this guy missed a game. His ADP is around 110 to 115. I think that's an excellent value. People going higher than him are Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, and Jimmy G. I think I like Matt Stafford a little bit more this year than I like Phillip Rivers, but I definitely like Rivers more than Matt Ryan. I definitely like Phillip Rivers more than Jimmy G this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think QB 13 might be a little too low.
And I agree with you. I think he definitely has that top 10 potential and, even higher.
And I think a lot of years he goes a little bit unheralded. He seemingly always has receivers going down with injury on his team, and he's having to shuffle them around. But then these unknown commodities end up stepping up and becoming legitimate fantasy players.
Sure. Now that Keenan Allen was able to prove that he could stay healthy all year, you really saw how dynamic and explosive that specific combination could be. And if Tyrell and Mike Williams both decide to show up, Phillip Rivers could be in for another monster season flirting with 5,000 yards like he has a tendency to do sometimes.
Completely agree.
Yep. He averages 285 games, 38 attempts, 2 touchdowns every time he steps on the field. He doesn't have one of the better offensive line or strength of schedule. Vegas likes them around 9 wins. I just think there's a lot of passing volume. It's a very reliable, very safe pick. If you're disciplined and you wait on a quarterback, Phillip Rivers is somebody that I'm very happy with.
Absolutely. I think he's got great value in that 9-10 round, and he's a solid quarterback, and he's going to score you plenty of points.
Absolutely.
Now, somebody who we are waiting to see which way of that coin flip he lands on is Derek Carr.
Certainly.
What are we going to do with Derek Carr this year? He came out and had an outstanding rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
He's regressed a little bit since then.
Yeah.
Now he's got Gruden as his coach. There's question marks across the board with him.
You're right.
I was a Derek Carr guy. I jumped on board. I bought his stock as a rookie. It paid off for me. I fell in love. I like him as a person. I like his attitude, but I just don't know what to make of that offense right now.
Sure thing. He always says the right things. He's such a high character and a good leader. And I've heard mixed reviews about what's going on there, but of course, when you ask Derek, he's going to talk about the excitement that John Gruden brings to the team. He was quoted as saying anybody that's played for him, they want to run through a brick wall for the guy. It's absolutely amazing the way he demands from me, and if I screw up, he lets me know in front of everybody. That kind of open accountability can certainly bring a team together. He is not very expensive if you want to take a shot with him. He's going anywhere from 140 to 145, which is pretty close to free. There are some guys going a little bit higher than him that I like, most notably Alex Smith. Love Alex Smith again. Marcus Mariota is going higher. Pat Mahomes is going higher. Out of that group, I'm really only going to try to get Alex Smith on my team. I really want to see success from Derek Carr. I just don't know enough to put my faith in him this season.
They're expecting 9 or 10 wins out of the Raiders this year, although he has the 29th ranked strength of schedule for a quarterback, but he's bolstered by the 5th ranked offensive line, which is huge for him. They brought in some weapons for him, but where he's going in drafts, I'm an Alex Smith guy as well. I would rather go there. The guys going right behind him are Eli Manning, Dak, and Mitch Trubisky. I may take him. In my mind, he's kind of even with a Dak Prescott because they both offer you some intangibles and can put up some scoring in different ways, but kind of a question mark. And at that point, if you're drafting a starter, I'd rather take Alex Smith maybe a round ahead of him.
Totally agree. Total Foresight has him ranked as QB 21. I would not be surprised at all if he surpassed that. I would not be surprised at all if he was right around that. So
he could be a high value QB2, but I'm not sure that's going to win you a championship. I think you're going to need some elite level scoring in order to do that out of that position most of the time. But he's serviceable if you're in a pinch or if you're looking for a competent backup.
Yeah, or a streaming option. You know, he's one of those guys to take a look at in one of those scenarios for sure.
And that wraps up this episode of Fantasy Foresight, the podcast. Don't forget, you can find us at fantasyforesight.com.
And you can use the links at the bottom of the page to find us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at ForesightBen, at ForesightJ, and at Total Foresight. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
You already found this podcast, but you can find it on Google Play and iTunes, and you can find our app in the App Store.
All right, that does it for us. We'll see everybody next time. Thanks a lot, and have a great night.